hasn't been said already. I think Klopp's right. He's the best in the world. Salah became the first player in Liverpool's history to score in 9 successive matches as his quite incredible form continues. So his agent Rami Abbas jumped on it and reportedly travelled to England in the last few days to negotiate terms on a new Liverpool deal, because that's what a guy like Rami Abbas would do at a time like this.
Yep.
The current deal runs until 2023. He's seeking a, quote, significant rise on Salah's current £200,000 a week wedge. Now, as far as Gabby Agbonlahor is concerned, and we like Gabby, he was on breakfast this morning, but he previously said, do you know what? In this instance, Salah, because of the form that he's in, he can virtually demand what he wants.
If I'm Mo Salah now, I want £1 more than the highest paid player in the Premier League. You don't give it me, I'll go somewhere that will give it me, because I'm that important to Liverpool at the moment that without me in that team, I don't think Liverpool have got a chance to win the league, a chance to win the Champions League. I think Mo Salah is that good, that important to Liverpool. Pay me what I deserve to be paid. I just see Mo Salah is that important. I mean, he's the best player in the world. I don't know how people can even put Lewandowski in the same bracket. Mo Salah's doing it in the biggest league in the world, the hardest league in the world, a lot harder than the German league. And if I'm him, I want to be paid exactly what I deserve. If Ronaldo's on £500,000 a week, I want 501,000 because I'm that important to my team.
Now, I have a rough idea, when you were owner of Palace, what you would say when an agent sat in front of you and said, give my man what he wants or we're out of here. Presumably they'd be out of here.
I think you'd have to be grown up about it, and you'd have to recognise that there are unique talents and there are unique circumstances, and there's a quid pro quo mentality of what it's going to cost you to take that view against what you're going to lose in taking it. You can't have a dictation. You can't have someone sit there telling you exactly what they're going to get without any commercial pushback from yourselves, trying to find a balance between all the other conflicting elements of it. What you pay him against the net knock-on effect against what you have to pay other players. But you also have to, as much as I don't like it, and I don't like it, look at what's in the marketplace. I'm not suggesting that you run after bad deals and it's a race to the bottom to be the most economically unviable. But when you're looking at players out there that are performing for other clubs and earning salaries that are far greater, you understand the argument. Then you have to push it back into the equation and say, right, well, if David De Gea is getting £375,000 a week, Kevin De Bruyne is getting £400,000 a week, the argument is that your peers are in that bracket, and whether we like it or we loathe it, this is the climate that footballers are getting paid this kind of money. It's ridiculous, absurd, unseen, undeserved amounts of money, but it is where it is. So then you have to balance it off and say, right, what have I got? I've got a player that's got 18 months left on his contract. I've got a player that could go on a free, tick the clock down, and get this money somewhere else. Now, I can be King Canute, and I can sit there and say, oh, I'm going to push this C back because that's what I want to do. Or I can sit there and try and make some sense in all the madness. Now, Gabby isn't wrong to say that he should push for what he thinks he's worth in comparison to the marketplace he exists in. But you can't have a situation where a player is bigger than the club. The opportunity to play for Liverpool is as great as the opportunity as Liverpool have with having him play for them. So there has to be a meeting of the minds. Now, if you're going to let this guy go for a comparative amount of money, i.e. at the end of his contract because he goes on a free and he walks out the door for free, or he goes with 1 year to go and you can only get a certain amount of value for him, you then got to look at what you're going to have to pay to replace him. If you buy a player that's going to be bought to replace Salah, you're going to be paying 70, 80 million quid. If you're paying 70, 80 million quid, dollars for donuts, you're going to be paying 200-300 grand a week on the wages. So what's the point? You've got to try and find some order. There will be an acceptance, irrespective of the fact that players are lemons, irrespective of the very mentality that you don't want to hear is whataboutery, because he's getting this, I should be getting that, because that will then permeate through the whole club.
But you know that's what's going to happen. Rami Abbas is going to go in there and say, De Gea, De Bruyne, Pogba are on 300k a week. My man is on 200k a week. Liverpool, my man is the difference between you guys winning the Premier League and being runners-up.
And he has a very good argument, doesn't he? He has a very good,
so Gabby's right.
argument. No, Gabby's point is that you compare what's happening somewhere else to the circumstances that you're in, and you can use it as a benchmark, and that's it. You're entrenched.
But is that not what they do, Simon?
Well, to a point, it's what they like
Agents
to do.
do that.
But don't be under the illusion that everything is as you see the world. Daniel Levy isn't the greatest negotiator the world ever put breath into, and not every agent walks through the door and tells you this is it, it's my way or the highway. Everybody has to have a discussion, because all roads do end up in the middle, and most people, if they're commercially sensible, recognise that what's happening at Man City and Man United doesn't necessarily have to apply what's happening at Liverpool, but notwithstanding that, you have to be mindful of it because it's what you can get.
Sure.
So Salah, the whole commercial proposition of Salah is, if he is as important to Liverpool in the longer game as he would appear to be now, then Liverpool are going to make a commercial decision which says, if I let this player go in 18 months' time on a free, I'm going to have to spend 100 million quid to replace him at that level.
Yeah.
That's going to cost me 25 million pound a year in depreciation every year. It's going to cost me the same amount of salary as I'm trying to avoid paying this guy. So why don't I just pay this guy somewhere in between what he's asking for and what we're prepared to consider, and find a middle deal?
Now, what is that?
Well,
in pounds and pence.
Well, who knows? I mean, is there an argument to suggest that any of these players are worth 400 grand a week? I mean, we are talking about ludicrous amounts of money, but by the same token, the value of football has gone out of the window. There isn't controls and governance. It doesn't necessarily mean, I think the Liverpool dressing room accept that this player is a superstar. He's currently a superstar for Liverpool. So what goes with that is a level of remuneration that recognises that. So you'd have to find yourself somewhere between the notion that Gabby has, which is he can have what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. And that doesn't manifest itself everywhere, by the way, because there's only a certain amount of clubs that can afford to pay him this kind of money.
Yeah.
So it isn't a given that he can just rock out the door and get £500,000 somewhere else.
Yeah, but the fans will think that virtually.
Well, the
most ardent Liverpool fans will say, for God's sake, give him what he wants.
No,
I'm not
sure they will. I'm sure that they'll say you've got to operate in a way that's keeping with. If you want to compete with the big boys, of which you are one, you've got to operate like a big boy. But I don't think any football club likes to see itself being held to ransom by an individual player, because, like I said at the top of this, the opportunity to play for Liverpool is as great as the opportunity of Liverpool have with Salah playing for them. So it works both ways.
Well, do you agree with this? The top agents got in touch saying the most important thing for Salah here is to have a buyout clause.
Well, cares what is important for Salah? You can't. Well, what a stupid analogy that is. Okay, I'm Liverpool. I think the most important thing I must bear in mind is what's best for the player. The most important thing is that if they're going to give this player what he wants, then it meets the club's expectations, not the players. If the agent is coming on talking about what's only beneficial to the player, then you're going to find it a very difficult deal to do, because unless you're going to bend over and let people roll all over you and take the mickey out of you, and the only negotiating tool you've got is your chin, then it's not a negotiation. Don't even bother going in the room. Just tell him what he wants and fill in the gaps.
Well, listen, you've been in this position before. If you're Liverpool, what do? Do you want a long-term deal with no buyout?
Well, it depends what the buyout is. If you want to put £150 million buyout on it, then that you can make, the buyout option, which is all becoming all too favourable now, all too fashionable, works in certain respects and not in others. It won't work for Borussia Dortmund in respect of Erling Haaland now, will it? Because the dynamics of the deal are going a different way from when that buyout was originally put in place.
Yeah.
But now the scenario is if Liverpool are going to give him something, which is an incredible pay rise, they'll want something in return, which will be an extended contract without the pressure of some buyout clause that gives the advantage back to the player. You can't have it all one way. You can't have the transaction all one way. Anyone that believes it is, a media narrative might be it's all one-way transaction. It won't be. It will be an equitable solution where the player either gets an incredible pay rise based upon his current performance and a buyout clause which is hugely inflated, or an incredible pay rise and no buyout clause, and everybody sits back down again and gets on with what they should be doing, which is winning games.
Solution.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart.